Hello, this is actor Michael Gross, and you're listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Brian Ackley, the writer and director of Alienated, which opens March 25th at the Somerville Theater, which I've been to many times, and I'm looking forward to that. So, how you doing?
Oh, hi. Thanks. Thank you so much for having me on. Thanks for letting me talk about our movie. We really appreciate this opportunity. So thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. It's great. I did get a chance to see it, and I really enjoyed it. And but you could probably explain better to people who aren't familiar what the movie's about, without spoiling too much.
Okay. In a nutshell, it's about a conspiracy theorist who witnesses a UFO outside of his house, and he's not sure how to tell his wife. And well, yeah, he's not sure how to tell his wife because he's a conspiracy theorist, and she's heard all these other wild ideas from him before. So he doesn't know if she'll be receptive, and he doesn't know if she'll be scared or freaked out by it. So that kind of opens up the door between the two of them and dealing with different issues that the couple has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I really enjoyed the movie, and I know it's considered science fiction movie, but it's very dialogue heavy, and so don't go in thinking it's an action packed science fiction movie. But it's it's very interesting. The story and the dialogue is so natural. Like
Thank
when
you
you're
for saying so. Yeah.
but when you're writing dialogue like that, like where does that come from?
Well, I guess there are two questions that I hear with what you're asking, and the first is how to write dialogue, and that's kind of a hard thing to answer, except to just keep practicing it. I've been told the last few scripts that I've written, I've come to find a nice voice. I've been able to voice characters pretty well, and what I try to do is jump into the characters and just really understand them and feel them. And as I'm writing, I kind of feel like that character, and I try to be truthful within that character. But I feel like it just takes a lot of time, a lot of build up, a lot of practice at doing that. And then the other question that I heard was like influences. I can't get in too much with the personal influences because basically I was too close to certain relationships in my life. And so I was able to really sort of feel the heat off of some really toxic relationships, and just kind of absorb it. And of course, at the time, it's not a comfortable place to be in, It's not really comfortable to be that close to a relationship, a friend that you have, experiencing this kind of viciousness back and forth. But in retrospect, it was a lot of fun to write this because in retrospect you can find these humorous moments, these strange interactions that people have even when they're fighting, even when they're arguing. So it was a lot of fun to write. And then on top of that, there are other influences, certain films that I've watched and respected. One in particular is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Which is of course about a very toxic relationship, and there are even some themes that just kind of become. I don't know if those themes were if I subconsciously drew them out from that film, or if they just became coincidental. But that film was definitely a big influence on me.
I think you definitely captured what it's like to be around a relationship like you said, like that, if it's the friend. And also because at the beginning it's like on the surface, so it almost seems like they're a typical couple. But as the movie progresses, you see more and more.
Exactly, it's kind of layered. I kind of knew early on that if I was going to take on this particular writing assignment, this particular project, that I'd want it to kind of unfold like a play. I really wanted it to be about the characters and the characters discovering things, and then one little tidbit kind of leads to an extension of the scene, and then that leads directly to the next scene, and it just kind of unfolds like a wave, like a series of waves. And I really was really going for that, and we were really lucky with the actors that we got to be able to pull this off, because the actors that we got were all theater based, so they had experience, playing out scenes that do in fact play out. You sit with the scene for a while. Many of our takes are longer in duration, and you just want those moments to take their time, and you want to feel the unfolding of it. So we were great to have, the cast that just kind of worked out perfectly, following my intention with the writing.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up because it's primarily two people in the movie, so casting will be really important if you just have basically two characters. What were you looking for in both of the actors for the role?
Oh yeah, great questions. We were with the character of Nate, who's the main character, who is this conspiracy theorist, and he clearly witnesses a UFO in the sky, and he doesn't know what to do with this information. We were looking for someone who can convey an inner conflict, someone who you could see them struggling, because a lot of what he's going through is in his head. He has to first he's always debating things in his head. Even within his arguments, he contradicts himself in his arguing. So we were looking for an actor who could really show us a lot facially, if that makes sense. Show us a lot without so much gesture. Show us that a character is thinking, that there's so much going on within the character's eyes. And George Cat. He brought this incredible intensity to the character that the character very much needed, and he at times just explodes. And then for Paige, who is she is the wife, and that's played by Jen Berry. And we wanted her to be expressive, because her character is the opposite, at least initially. She is overshadowed. Her role as a wife is overshadowed by his obsessions, his conspiracies, and his thoughts. So we wanted her to be expressive, yet she had to withhold that, those feelings and those emotions. But yet you as human beings, many of us can't help but be expressive. So that's sort of, for the most part, I guess, what we were looking for.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said they were both stage actors, and then you mentioned how George can emote a lot with his face without necessarily talking or moving around. And you think that wouldn't necessarily be something you'd learn on the stage, because you'd be in front of an audience and they might not be able to pick that up as well as they would on film.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that has everything to do with George. George George started a theater company. Now he's going to kill me because I forget what it's called now. It's based in New York, and it's a wonderful place where actors and creative people, writers, directors can come together and workshop things. And what makes them special is that they don't single out one medium over another. So it's all about the process. So that can include television work, that can include film, and that can include theater, of course. And so George apparently has taken it upon himself to study both theater and film. Yes, you're absolutely right. There's a major contrast between playing a role in each of these mediums. So it does take a special concentration in each of those fields to go ahead and master them, And so apparently George, he's explored both of these worlds, because it turned out he was the perfect person to cast for our film.
Yeah, no, he was, watching it, and you mentioned, how it's about a relationship, and it's and you get to see the layers as it goes on, and so at some point in the movie, both characters obviously want your character to be likable, so people can enjoy the movie. But you also see, unlikable qualities in both of them. So even when you're writing it, Is that like a line you have to not cross, not to make them too unlikable? Cross a line where people would just like, oh, I don't
Oh,
really care what happens to them.
yeah. Well, that's a fun question. Um, I don't know if a character has to be likable as much as they have to be understandable. Or
Okay.
I think empathy is the better. You want to be able to connect with the character.
Hmm.
So if you have someone who's really who even if he's mean, not that the main character is mean, but even if you had a mean character, um, but then if you a mean character who's obsessive over something, if somebody can, if your audience can tap um, to an aspect of the personality which they can relate to, like, okay, yeah, he's being a jerk, but you know what? A spaceship just landed on his house. I think he's got the right to be a jerk, or at least that area is a little bit of gray.
Hmm.
So I think so. My concentration when I'm writing is more toward. I'm able, if the more I understand my characters and the less that I judge my characters, then I can write as my characters, and therefore those characters can just be real people, and then through that inevitably there's a connection to be made throughout people that look at, throughout people that watch it.
Hmm.
So I think it has more to do with just kind of trying to connect and understand. I have an interest to be an actor, not a professional actor necessarily, but I first started out wanting to be an actor, and so I can approach things from that perspective,
Hmm.
and I can respect where an actor is coming from. So of course, when I'm writing, I'm inside the minds of these characters,
Hmm.
and so to me they are real, and you have to be able to connect to them. And I guess it's able to translate when I'm able to put it out there.
Yeah. Now you mentioned wanting to be an actor. So how did you? Was that the first thing you wanted to do when you made movies? You intended to be an actor. So how did you get into writing and directing?
Yeah, I was enthralled by the whole idea of making movies, or of living in movies, I should say. Back when I was a kid, I watched Back to the Future on my birthday, my 6-year-old, my sixth birthday, and I just fell in love with it. And I wanted to be an actor from that point forward, mainly because I wanted to be a stunt person.
Hmm.
I just loved the idea of these characters being able to run around, do these cool, crazy stunts. And another one was Indiana Jones,
Hmm.
that whole trilogy. As I grew up, I appreciated kind of getting inside of characters' minds and understanding psychology. I love psychology, philosophy. Um, and then there's something on a deeper level of being able to just try something else, try something that's not you, but try something completely different and explore. I'm a student of so many different things, so I love to explore different other options, and I think that plays into this interest of mine.
Hmm.
But at some point, as I was getting older, I realized that it's very hard to be an actor. So my brilliant idea was, well, if I learn how to make films, then I'll be able to put myself into
Then you
any
can write
movie I
yourself
want.
into the right.
I want to make,
Uh-huh.
and that works to a point. I've put myself into a few short films. But really, if you're going to be an actor, if you're going to be a professional actor, then you need to commit to that.
Hmm.
And I mean, certainly you can write and direct and do all these other things, but I've taken much more to writing than I have to acting. So I've placed the acting aside, and I'm really, really enjoying just exploring different characters through writing and different worlds in that way.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. So what was so you said Back to the Future, and I did like that you said Indiana Jones trilogy and ignored the fourth one. But the so were those what were some other
You're
movies?
a fan of the fourth one?
No. I was actually happy that you that you skipped over the fourth one.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. But go ahead.
no problem. But there's a fifth one planned coming out. But what were some of the other movies that you grew up watching that made you want to create these movies?
Oh man, it's so fun and weird. As a kid, there's some weird thing that happened with me that I seem to love every single movie that I watched.
Uh-huh.
I'm scared to death of Child's Play. I'm not a horror fan per se, but at some point I watched this scary movie, and still I love it. You know, there was nothing that I didn't like, with the exception of two things that one of my sisters kept playing over and over and over and over again. She killed me with them, and it was Dirty Dancing and Grease. And it's not fair to those films. And at this point, I don't hate them anymore. But growing up, I saw them too many times. But I mean, I was a big fan of John Hughes. He put John Candy in his films a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big fan of John Candy's. You know, I tortured my sister right back by playing Home Alone 1,000 times. It didn't matter if it was in July or August. I'd still play it. So I mean, yeah, I love I grew up in the 80s for the most part. So I was born in 78. So all of these movies in the 80s, these action comedy films, Beverly Hills Cop, lots and lots of fun things that they don't all necessarily hold up today, but I loved them back then. And there are still a whole bunch that do, you know. I remember, Die Hard. I don't know how my parents were okay with me watching Die Hard, even if I was like 13 or 14 or however old I was at the time, because that's a very violent movie. But still they did, and I'm glad they did, because I love it.
Yeah. Now, it's actually funny you brought up Grease and Dirty Dancing, because I too had to see them many times as a kid, but it was because they're two of my mom's favorites.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't mind. I never minded Grease too much, but I was never real big on Dirty Dancing. But, yeah, there's a couple other ones. Footloose.
It is a decent film, and it has great music in it. You can't. I mean, I don't think you can deny that, even if it's dated. You know. I still think it's good. I think it's a good movie with good music at this point now.
Yeah. Would you ever do a musical? Have you ever tried writing music?
I am open. I open myself to all kinds of challenges, and I think I do this just naturally. I wrote. I was involved with an organization in a after-school program where I worked for several years in Webster Groves, Missouri. And the Parent-Teacher Association there, every year they do a fundraiser. They put on a play. This is the parents, and they recruit teachers, and the parents and teachers perform for the kids and for the families. And they raise a little bit of money for the school, and it's just fantastic. And so, I saw one of those shows, and I was just knocked out. I just thought it was so entertaining. It was goofy, and nobody knows what they're doing, really. Well, that's not entirely true, because there is talent there. But it is a goofy show. But I thought it was fantastic. So I volunteered to write and direct it. And I did so for the next 3 years. And for some strange reason, I don't know why I even do this, but I always write a song into it. The first year, I think I wrote 2 or 3 songs. And like every year I have to. And I think one of the years I was acting in it, and I forced myself to sing, which I'm not a singer. So sometimes I set myself up with the most ridiculous challenges. But I would consider, I don't know. I don't have a musical in my head. I just have. I follow the material is what I do. Whatever fascinates me, I'll follow that.
Yeah.
And each of these plays, I had to write a song. The material was asking.
I'm interested in hearing these now. Let's seek them out. Now, even the name Alienated, I think, is interesting for the movie, because, it's about a couple, but as you watch a movie, both of them are alienated, within their relationship. Was that part
exactly.
of the... Yeah, was that part of, the idea behind the name? Yeah,
my first title, I handed the script over to my producing partners, at One Way or Another Productions, and it was called UFO, because I wanted to be very clear that this is about a UFO. There's no mistake in it. This guy goes outside to take the trash out, and he sees a UFO. Now our story begins, But as we were talking, we decided to change the title, and we were playing with Alienation. And it wasn't until that we got on set, and it was our lead actor, George, who suggested, he just kind of came out. He said, you should call this Alienated. Have you thought about that? And I hadn't. And we had like maybe 2 conversations, very brief, and he just kind of basically just threw the seed, into my pot, and then it sat there for a few months. And then sure enough, it made total sense to make it Alienated as opposed to Alienation. And we went with it, and it's absolutely perfect, because more so than the other, it's the main character that alienates himself from the world. Mm-hmm. But of course, within this relationship, they each take a part of that.
Yeah, it was a good call on his part. I think it is a perfect name for the movie. Now, I mentioned March 25th it was going to open at Somerville Theater, which I've been to. I live here in Massachusetts.
Oh, nice, yeah.
What was it about that theater that made you guys decide to open there?
Oh, that was a no-brainer decision, because our film was invited to screen at the Boston SciFi Film Festival, mm-hmm. Which happened just about a month or a month and a half ago. And one of our producers, my partner, Princeton Holt, he came and I came, and we enjoyed it. I mean, we were there for a few days. We spent the first couple of days tagging the town, handing out our artwork, and this neighborhood was so receptive of our film, and they loved our artwork. We were handing out the postcards. We were talking to people, businesses. Almost every business was like, "Yeah, we'll take that. That looks good, Okay, yeah." Almost every business was receptive, and at times we were talking to somebody behind a counter, and there'd be somebody else, some customer, chiming in saying, "Can I see that? What is it? What is this about? I can't really hear what you're saying to this guy." So people were just interested, and then not only that, we really loved the festival itself, and we loved the venue. Mm-hmm. It's a really nice theater. So it was a no-brainer. We just had to explore that as an option, and the theater was very, very open to that. Mm-hmm. And now we're lucky enough to be playing in Boston again. It's incredible.
Yeah. Now, did you stay for the whole 24 hours of the film festival?
What do you mean?
Of the SciFi Film Festival, 24 hours of movies?
Oh no, I believe it's longer than that. They
Really?
had a program that stretched a few days. There may be,
I think there's a marathon. Yeah.
I think they call it a marathon. Mm-hmm. I left the day before the marathon. I think you're talking about the marathon. That's just insane. But I love like crazy things like that. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of this thing that AMC does around Oscar time, where they show all the Best Picture nominated films. Right now these days, because there are usually 10 nominated films, they break it up into 2 weekends. But it's just you just sit in a theater for an entire day and watch movies. I have done that before, and it's a load of fun.
Yeah, actually, it was funny that you brought up the film fest because Annabelle's my partner here on the show. She couldn't be here tonight, but we were going to go to that, but we couldn't work it out schedule-wise. We're definitely planning on doing it next year, doing the whole 24. We've been to 12-hour movie marathons, but never 24.
Oh, see, yeah, I I'll have to see where I am in the country at that time. That'd be fun. That'd be fun, as long as you have your snacks,
Yeah, bring snacks and pillows, and she usually brings pillows and blankets, and we'll pick a movie or at some point in time to maybe take a nap during.
Wow, man. Makes me ever think of running one yourself somewhere?
We have thought about that. It would be. It would be a lot of fun. It would be fun even just picking the movies, I think. As long as I didn't lose like a fortune on it, like I wouldn't mind if I just broke even. Like just to run it would be fun.
Yeah, programming something like that. I'll have to keep my eyes open for next year. I mean, I don't. I'm not sure where I'll be necessarily in the country, but
Yeah. Around the same area on Halloween, they do the 12-hour movie marathon in Brookline at the Coolidge Theater. That's one we
nice.
We normally go to. Now, Taylor Negron's in the movie. who's a very recognizable face for movie lovers. What was it like working with him?
Oh, speaking of Taylor, I was I was first introduced to his work way back in the early '80s when I saw Nothing But Trouble, and there's another John Candy movie.
Mm-hmm.
And just loved him. I thought he was fantastic in that. I mean, I saw the film because Dan Aykroyd's in it, Chevy Chase is in it, all these big heavy comedy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
But yet Taylor, his part is funny. He's fantastic in it. He holds his own. And then I've been mentioned The Last Boy Scout. He was in The Last Boy Scout, and that's a favorite film of mine. I think that was written by Shane Black too, who I idolize Shane Black. I think his work is terrific. He's the writer also behind Lethal Weapon. But anyway, I totally didn't answer your question, and I've already. Oh, what was it like working with Taylor?
Uh-huh.
It was incredible. It was too short-lived, though. It was way too short-lived because we only had a day with him, plus a few hours to kind of like a meet and greet and a little bit of rehearsing the day before. But he was very nice. He was very open to our small production. He was very open. He was very interested in the work. I think that he took on the project because of how much he connected to his character. And I can't talk too much about that because I don't want to give too much away.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very much drawn to the material and very much drawn to his own character and what his character had to say. And so he brought this humility to our set. And he was just so down to earth when we were first, one of our first scene, I was intimidated, this is a Hollywood actor who's been in he's worked with everybody, he's been in so many films, like over 130 movies and TV shows. So who am I? This is my second feature film, So of course I come in with intimidation, but he knocks it down just over the course of just a few hours. He's sitting down. I mean, he's chilling on the living room floor, just kind of chatting it up with everybody else. If he's got a question, he chimes in. If he's got something to say, and then when it's time to work, he's just he's very focused, and he wants direction. I'm not the kind of director that dictates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a conversationalist. I'm more of a collaborator. So I like to figure out what a scene is with an actor, and he is open to being dictated if that's what is it that you want. He's so much interested in or at least he was interested in what I wanted. So he's very, very respectful of my vision and so very humble. And of course, so that makes me humble. It was an incredible experience. It was a long day, but it was still too short of a day, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We only got to work with him the one day, and his work was done.
Mm-hmm. Now, I assume he didn't get to see the finished movie.
No, he did not. He did not. There are some of us with the great fortune that we're having with this, and with releasing the film. And with the subject matter and some of the themes, some of the metaphysical themes of our film, we're wondering whether or not Taylor is somewhere just sort of sharing his blessings with us, So he may, in some other world, he may be watching our film,
Yeah.
It's been a very remarkable journey. We have been blessed, and we just kind of wonder if he's watching it over us, basically.
Mm-hmm. Now I know it was it last this weekend that you had a screening of it in New York, and it was.
Oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
oh yes. I was not able to make it, but I hear it went super well. It was last Saturday, and it was at the Syndicate Bar. They're also a restaurant. It's a new trendy bar restaurant theater in Brooklyn.
Wow.
It looks and sounds amazing, and I got so many updates throughout the screening from my partner, and it was very well received. In fact, it was so well received that we're discussing bringing the film back to that theater, and so that's it was fantastic. We sold out. We had to turn people away.
Oh, really?
It was a small, intimate setting, so only about 50 seats.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to turn people away, which is always hard. But it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. It's better than asking people on the street to come in here and watch us. But what's it like? What's it like for you to watch a movie with an audience? I know you weren't there for Saturday, but it's played. At
I've had a few opportunities to watch this film with others, and I think my favorite experience has been one of our very early festivals. We screened. This also was in New York. It was at the Chain New York City Film Festival, and we just had a blast. It was the first time. I think it was the first time that I saw it with an audience, and a lot of our team was there. Also, George, Jen, we brought friends and family, and it was the first time that we saw it with an audience, and it was just wonderful because they were laughing and just kind of reacting to things that we didn't quite anticipate. We didn't expect, and sometimes we were just outright surprised by it. And it was so well, you could just kind of feel it. It was so well received. In fact, that screening also brought us back. That festival brought us back a week later, and for an encore presentation. And the same thing happened, but the audience laughed and reacted in different places. And it seems like this film gets people in different ways. Maybe it's because it's so layered, I guess. Mm-hmm. But people don't react. Audiences don't react the same way. There's so many nuances. It's pretty interesting. But that was by far my best experience with watching the film with an audience.
Mm-hmm. And there is something about it's great. In this modern day, you can watch stuff online, and you could legally, hopefully, and you can video on demand and everything. But there's something special about seeing a movie on the big screen with a group of people.
Oh yeah, I think that's the case most of the time. I think I leave room open for other possibilities because I personally just don't know. Mm-hmm. But when we saw Alienated at this festival, that's because of the reaction that we got from that audience, and we were brought back for an encore. That shaped our marketing strategy, and that's where we decided we were going to release this theatrically, because we think people would appreciate this film more with an audience based on that. And it sounds like they are, because of even Saturday's New York screening, the audiences are reacting in different ways. So this is certainly what you said is certainly true for our film. And I don't know maybe it is all films are just better to be seen in public on a huge screen in a dark room. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For me, this is something special about it. But sometimes it just isn't possible, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we have a few more screenings. We're going to be. We don't have many details, so you'd have to follow us online because we're still confirming these. But we have we're going to be releasing theatrically in Washington D.C., L.A., Boston. Of course, you already mentioned Boston, and we're looking at a town in South Dakota called Aberdeen. One of our partners is there, and she's going to be leading the force for a really nice screening there.
Oh, those are very cool. By the way, how can you follow the movie online?
The best way is through our website, which is alienatedmovie.net.
Excellent. I'll put the link right here so people can click on it.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
It'll be like magic.
Hey, thanks for your questions. I really do like your questions.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I'm glad. I did want to ask one more thing was about, we talked about the cast, the two leads. And something else I was thinking, obviously both by themselves are good actors, but they also have chemistry together. So that would be something I would think you'd have to, especially with just basically two people have to hope that these two have chemistry together. Now, did they just like automatically have chemistry together? Or did you how did that work out?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't, sometimes you direct a movie and you can't answer a question about your movie. I know that these two people are professionals. They're wonderful people by themselves, but beyond that, they're professionals, and they really care about what they do. I was not in New York at the time, and so they took it upon themselves to rehearse almost every single day. So I imagine a lot of that chemistry was built between the two of them. But I figured there's probably luck involved as well, because there wasn't a lot of time for them to to be so well acquainted. They certainly come off as a married couple in our film. We're just so grateful to have them. We're so grateful that the timing worked out. And I don't know. I mean, if you're casting a movie, you want to aim for chemistry, and you don't always get that. In our case, something else happened, and we got two amazing actors, and we were fortunate enough that bringing them together brought us great chemistry.
Yeah, there's a scene, and if I explain it here, I think people laugh, but it's like really well shot, and it's when she's in the tub and he's using the bathroom, and it's kind of like you can see his stream coming in front of her, but it's like I think it's a really good scene because it kind of shows that both they're comfortable with each other, they're around each other all the time, but also at the same time like she's not, like they don't necessarily like each other. But I thought it was very well shot.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that scene. It can it's a little ballsy, but I just decided let's go for it. Let's play. I love being a filmmaker because there's so many things that you can play with, and I love playing with those visuals. Thank you. Thanks for saying that.
No problem. There's I also want to ask, do you believe in UFOs and aliens?
Oh, I'd say 75, 80%, and maybe that even fluctuates. I don't understand the universe, but I do believe that we're all connected. And I believe, like all life forms, that we're all connected. And I think that there is an incredible chance that aliens, that other life forms are out there, and I have no idea how they would relate to us, or if they'd be part of the same energy that all we are. I don't know, but I'm just an ongoing student, just trying to pick up any little tidbits. I don't obsess over it, or I don't study it really. But from time to time, I'll kind of step out and just kind of ask these questions and seek out different things and look and study it, I guess. Yeah, it's certainly a possibility with me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I also want to bring up on one more thing was I love the opening credits with the hand drawn beginning there. I thought that was really interesting. It kind of got me into it right away before anything was really happening.
Oh man, cool! Thank you. That came in post production when we were asking ourselves if we had enough for our story, if all of our story pieces were coming together properly, and so it kind of dawned on me. I really had to sort of dwell on this question that was presented by my partners, and so I couldn't run away from this question. This was a very important one, and so by creating this sort of this opening sequence, we were able to do a couple things, and certainly we were able to add some backstory and also a layer of foreshadowing, and then we were able to set up our tone. Now the artwork comes from a guy. He's moving into his second year of college. He did this artwork when he was 17 years old.
Oh wow!
His name is Anthony Andahar, and he's in New York. Terrific artist. And he was able to get this out. He was able to be fast with it also. He was just starting his semester, so he didn't have a lot of time to play with. But he works fast, and we really liked his work.
Yeah, it came out excellent. Now, you said how to follow the movie. How do people follow you? Not like at your home or anything, but online.
Okay, good. Yeah, just online. You can follow me online. I can be found on Facebook, mostly on Facebook. I think it's just my first and last name. I can't even remember really.
Uh-huh.
I'm new to the whole getting out there and doing these types of interviews. And so I'll just have to kind of learn as I go, I guess. But if you find our movie you can find our movie on Facebook also. Facebook, /Alienated movie. You can find us there, and then if you can find the movie, you'll be able to find me.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope people see the movie. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for saying that, and this has been a lot of fun talking to you. I really like your questions, and I certainly hear your enthusiasm and your genuineness. So thank you.
This is Michael Kenworthy from Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.